Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin, NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, today we're going to do a recap of the first round. Um, and so, just give me 1 second to pull up one last thing. Oh, okay, yeah, so anyways, so we're gonna recap each series just kind of generally. So this is, well, I'm hoping, I'm not planning for this stream to be too long. Of course, we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna be going over things pretty generally, is the plan. And then comparing my predictions to the results. Um, so really, that's about it. So altogether, to be honest, and now I mean, of course, I'm biased in saying this, but my predictions were pretty darn close. Now, the actual end results were wrong, but in terms of how I predicted series to go, it was pretty much dead on. So it's just that the end result was slightly different. Well, slightly different. A different team won in the end. Um, than what I actually predicted. But in terms of what I predicted in terms of how the series would go, basically dead on. So in that regard, there's not really too many surprises that I need to comment on, which is surprises. Um, it's kind of surprising because, well, I mean, lots of people, including myself, didn't predict the results that actually came out, but I called it. Um, my actual prediction in the end was wrong, but in terms of saying about the upsets, I said that they were very possible, and uh, they turned out happening. Now, again, I didn't think they were going to actually happen, but they did, and yeah, I mentioned how I thought they were quite possible to happen. So anyways, let's get to it. How am I gonna do this? So of course, me saying how I'm asking myself how I'm gonna do this. As always, done on the spot, no prep work except for the subjects. So I know what we're talking about. I just don't know the exact structure I'm gonna do here. Let's do it this way. So I can share screen now, I think. Sorry, allergies. I got, it's that time of year. So, I don't want to start off with Boston, but I guess we'll just do it in order. So as you can tell on the left, actually I should add that to the notes about my sources, but on the left, Wikipedia, they do a really good job of covering results and things like that. I use them for a lot of different things. And then on the right, you'll see stats and stuff that we'll go over. So we want team stats, and we'll do goalie stats. Okay, so we will start off with the Boston-Florida series. So as I mentioned in the previews, I thought that the series could. Well, I should say before I say that, I'm doing all of my referencing to my previews based on memory. So I don't know for sure exactly what I said, but it's to this effect anyway. So I was saying how um, I not I wasn't I'm not supposed to talk about my predictions, but I guess I'm gonna have to along the way too because I predict things. Uh, so just highlighted here. So the data indicated that the Boston Bruins would win, and I predicted that the Boston Bruins would win. But um, going back to what I was just about to say, in the previews, I was saying uh, nearly certain Florida was the President's Trophy winner last year, and Boston was this year. Now, what I think I recall saying was that basically they were complete mirror images of each other flipping seasons. So Florida was a dominant team at the top of the conference last season, and then they went down towards the bottom. Boston, I can't recall where they finished last year, but this year obviously they were at the top. Um, and they just flipped, and the teams didn't really change that much. So if that's the case, then really, I mean, is there much of a difference between the teams? I know Boston added a couple things. Florida, I don't recall them adding anything at the deadline and in the offseason or anything. But anyways, no dramatic changes. So you've got these two teams that basically remain unchanged. Boston, they've got additions, so they're obviously going to be slightly better. But yeah, just completely flipped over a season. But the exact same characteristics. So when you match them up, I mean, it's going to be a close series, is what I predicted. I thought in the end Boston would win. I don't remember exactly what I said in the preview, but I think, well, what I would say now at least is they made a couple additions at the deadline that I think were good additions that made the team better. Krejci, I don't believe, played last year and then did play this year. So there were some changes for Boston. So I thought they would be a better team. Plus, they were on a roll. But what I said, I know I said this for sure, is that Boston faced no adversity throughout the whole season. And so at some point they were going to. And what the results of that adversity would be, who's to say? And, well, we saw exactly what happened. So like I said, I'm not at all surprised by the result. Maybe it wasn't exactly what I thought. Like, obviously, I got the prediction wrong. Because I think I predicted Boston in, was it 5 or 6? I can't remember. But in any case, it was definitely possible that Florida would win the series, and then they did. Now, coming back from 3 games to 1, that's pretty impressive, and so that's surprising. So midway in the series, I didn't think that Florida would be able to come back, but they did. But before the series, I definitely thought it was possible that Florida won. So anyways, just kind of simply how things went through. Boston won game 1, Florida game 2, Boston 3 and 4, Florida 5, 6 and 7. And the earlier games, I mean, each time the teams won, there's enough of a gap between the two teams that they basically just kept flipping. And then game 5 and game 7 were very close, obviously, because they go to overtime. And game 6 was too, because they went back and forth throughout the whole game. So, so anyways, in the end, what can we really say? So Allmark obviously didn't play well enough. .896 save percentage, which is, I mean, bad, but it's not horrible. It's not like, well, 875, which is what Swayman had in the end. So it's just not good enough goaltending. Now, the team didn't play well enough in front of them, as far as I'm concerned. But, I mean, I didn't watch everything of all games, so I can't really comment exactly on how their team played. But at the very least, yeah, I mean, goaltending stats weren't good. So I'm going to kind of go over the same stats that I covered in the previews and see what happened there. And then, so just to contrast, Florida, I mean, really not that much better. Actually, not really at all better of goaltending. So 891 for Bobrovsky and 902 for Lyon. And those are really bad stats for goalies. So really, it wasn't goaltending that won the series. Let's move over to the other stats. So goal differential, I won't be able to show it, but we can do the math. So +1 for Boston, and then Florida was -1. So really, it's like dead on. And I mean, technically, Boston should have won, at least from a goal differential perspective. And then shot differential, Boston was +3.3. Florida was, well, I guess, yeah, it would have to be the complete opposite. So -3.3. So really, from all stats, Boston should have won the series. The goaltending stats were slightly in Florida's favor. And then these stats were very, very slightly in Boston's favor. So I think in the end, the goaltending actually did win the series, but it was this tiny margin. And I mean, it's maybe team defense, however you really want to argue it. But so very close. I mean, really, to go to Game 7 overtime, it makes sense because of how close all the stats are. So again, like I said, Florida winning, not surprising. I kind of called it as being realistic before the series, where not a lot of people were saying this. But I thought I thought Boston was still going to win, and they didn't. So I was wrong, but it was as close as I thought it would be. So not crazy wrong. Next up, Toronto versus Tampa. So Toronto won 4-2. And actually, yeah, so sorry. The prediction I had was Tampa. And the data indicated Toronto would win. So I was wrong. Data was right. And it was also, I mean, a super close series. So 3 overtime games. Toronto won all 3 of those overtime games. Tampa was up 1-0, which is, I mean, Toronto really could have run into trouble from that. So it goes Tampa, Toronto, 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 Tampa, and then Toronto in the end. All the games, somewhere it's the same kind of thing as Boston. Some were a pretty big gap, and then other ones were very close. So again, a very close series. I think in my previews I said it was a coin toss, and so I think it was a coin toss. I thought it would go in Tampa's favor, and I thought Toronto wouldn't be able to shake that monkey off their back. So I was wrong in that regard, but not wrong in the fact that the series was going to be close. So really within my range of what I thought was possible. And and then so anyways, let's have a look at the stats here. So goaltending first. So Tampa Vasilevsky, 875 hit save percentage for him. That's really bad. And obviously not good enough to win a series, but Toronto really wasn't all that much better. A 900 save percentage for Samsonov is, it's not horrendous, but definitely not good. As I mentioned previously, the league average I think was 915 or 914, so well below, but it's at 900, which is good enough to win games typically, but it's not very good. And then Wall 800. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the same thing as the Boston series, where the goaltending actually was the result. But we'll have a look at the team stats here. So goal differential, 2 goals negative for Tampa, 2 goals positive for Toronto. Shot differential, Tampa was up 2 shots per game over Toronto. So really it was very, very close. Again, one stat goes for one team, the other stat goes for the other team. The Boston one was both for Boston, and then they still lost. So here basically it's neither of those kind of tell you, but then it's the goaltending stat, like I was anticipating, where 900 is better than the I hope you guys can see that actually. Maybe I was putting it too low. Give me a sec. I just want to double check here that you can see it. I should flip these actually, because you don't need to see as much. There we go. So it should be better now. So anyways, yeah. So really in the end, it kind of looks like goaltending maybe was, but I mean, you can't really, Vasilevsky's like the best goalie in the league. So you can't quite go on the stats, but really that could have been in the end, or you could argue team defense, however you want to argue it. That was kind of the difference, really. So, yeah. So again, I got the result wrong, but in terms of how close it was right within range of what I was expecting. So, yeah. So for me, not that surprising. And again, I was wrong, but not really that far wrong. Next up is Islanders and Hurricanes. So Hurricanes won 4-2. Again for this one, so I think I got all of them wrong in the Eastern Conference. Funny enough, not very good, but whatever. So I predicted Islanders, and the data indicated Hurricanes. Now this one, I'm nearly certain. Again, I said it was a coin toss, coin flip. So my gut said Hurricanes, but I predicted Islanders because preseason I predicted them to be in the Stanley Cup final, actually, and that's not happening. But the thing is the Hurricanes, they lost 2 players, one early in the series. Oh, wait, 3 players. Pacioretty. Teravainen? I can't remember. Anyways, or Svechnikov? Or both? Anyways, I think they lost 3 important scorers in total, and so I thought it would be a very close series, and then the defensive team would do better. And I was wrong. But I mean, again, not by that much because it was a close series. So, yeah, same kind of thing as the other series. So the games that were further apart, it flipped between the two teams, and then the rest were all 1-goal games, overtime games, and Carolina won both the overtime games. So really super even series. Yeah, again, kind of within what I expected. Not the exact prediction, but basically exactly what I was expecting. So, and then the stats. See, this is kind of crazy, and I remember seeing this previously. So Sorokin was a 929 save percentage. That is crazy good. So it absolutely was not his fault, and there's nothing he could have done better to win the series. Now I didn't see every goal, so maybe there might have been a bad goal here and there, but I mean with those stats, he's way too good. I'd put him right up there with Vasilevsky, and so it's not goaltending that lost it for them. And then Carolina, it's a bit misleading with Anderson. So he played in one game, 9-7-1. I think that was the game that mattered. Game 6, if I'm not mistaken. And then otherwise, Ranta 906. But if you contrast that with the other series, 906 is not all that bad. When like the previous best was 900 from Samsonov. So decent goaltending, decent enough from Carolina. Again, well, obviously to win the series, but still kind of subpar. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see who will start in the next series. If I had to take a guess, it's Anderson, and I forget if they already said that would be the case. I might have read that, but I can't recall. Anyways, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the. I would be surprised if he wasn't the starter, but of course we'll see. So goaltending in the end, well, when it mattered, Carolina had better goaltending. But throughout the series, really, Sorokin was the better goalie. But so he couldn't win the series by himself. Let's look at the team stats here. So Carolina goal differential 1 positive. And then Islanders obviously -1. Shot differential. See, I think I commented on that before the series that they were one of the highest shot producing teams, and I mean that's probably what won it for them in the end. Because yeah, you just put sheer volume at a good goalie, and you have to have some go in. Actually, you know what? Just for interest's sake, I want to double check this because I'm nearly certain that Carolina had the most shots for per game. Wait, did I? Or was it shot different? So maybe it was the best shot differential? Because it does look like that's the case, maybe, of the teams that are in the playoffs. In any case, the shots for, I think, actually was the winning factor because it was so close. 1 goal difference, and the shot differential was 6 in Carolina's favor. So I think it's just the sheer volume of shots that won it for them because the Sorokin stats were just outstanding. So again, it's like I said, it's a coin toss who was going to win, and I think it was shot differential was what won it for Carolina. I mean, at least from the stats that we're talking about or having a look at here. Next, moving over to Devils Rangers. So I had Rangers. goes to Game 7. So again, as close as could be. Data indicated the Devils. Now, what I should say is this series is what I think I got the most wrong. So I thought the Rangers were going to win, and I thought there was going to be enough of a gap. I think in the previews I might have said it was a coin toss. I can't recall. But I can say at least how I feel now, that I thought of all the series, I thought Rangers, or of all the series that weren't as I predicted, this is the one that I think I was furthest from what I expected. I thought the Rangers were going to win. I forget exactly what I predicted in terms of number of games. I didn't do it in the stream, but I did that separately. And I think I might have said 4-1 or something like that. Or maybe 4-2. But this one, anyways, I can tell you now, I thought the Rangers were going to win, and that there was going to be a big gap from experience, goaltending, coaching, you name it. I know New Jersey was a really good team in the regular season, but they're young and inexperienced. I just didn't think they'd be able to pull it off. So anyway, so this one, as much as I got other ones wrong as well, this one I think I got the most wrong. I was very surprised at the result. So anyways, let's go and have a look at, first the actual way the series went. So 2-0, they were up, the Rangers. That was as I expected, and 5-1 each game. Again, kind of as I expected. And then New Jersey comes back 2 games, 2 pretty close games. And then 3 games, and then New Jersey won by a big enough margin that game. And then the Rangers came back and won by a big enough margin again, and then complete reverse for New Jersey in Game 7. So it just, you can kind of see from the way that the series went, it really just made no sense to me and didn't go as I expected. The start did. The fact that New Jersey maybe got a game in the first 3 is, not surprising to me, but then it's completely like 3 games straight for New Jersey, and then I don't know, it made no sense to me. It was a huge surprise. So anyway, so that's the result in 7 games. Wasn't expecting that. Goalie stats. Now we know I think he's a rookie. Schmid. Anyways, .951 save percentage in how many games is that? 5 games? Went 4-1. That's a crazy good save percentage. So, yeah, and then Vanacek, if they kept him in net, 827, that's like way, way below what you need. So if they kept going with Vanacek, they would have probably lost the series, and then they get a complete reverse from the other goalie, which, of course, sometimes just goalies go on a roll, and you can't really predict it, but it's what happened. So then you go over to the Rangers, .931 save percentage for Shesterkin. So it's not, you can't blame anything on him. There's enough of maybe a gap in goaltending where goaltending made a difference, but really, it isn't really goaltending, it looks like, that won the series. Goal differential, even. So it tells you how close the series was. And then shot differential, it's got to be in New Jersey's favor. Not by much again. So what is that? 1.5 shot differential. So I mean, it's as close as can be. For the result to have to have gone to 7 games is not surprising. To win 4-0 in the last game is maybe that's a bit kind of surprising of a gap. It was a really weird series how it all came out, and like I said, it's probably the furthest from what I expected. Um, anyways, so surprising to me, but so got that one wrong. Got all four in the end wrong in the Eastern Conference. So Boston wrong, Tampa wrong, Islanders wrong, Rangers wrong. Man, that's rough. uh, Now, one thing I should say is, like I said in the previews, uh, for so I had money. I won't really talk about the rest of the series, but I had money on both the Bruins and the Panthers to win the cup. Bruins I had as a kind of middle of the pack chance at winning the cup, and then Panthers I have as one of my favorites. So to have them go through, if they win the cup, then I do very well in terms of my bet. But of course, we've got a long way to go. They've got to get through 3 rounds to win the cup. This round, next round, and then the next one after that. So I mean, yeah. But so my preseason prediction was right. Just the series was wrong. So, anyways, at least one thing that's good news, even though I got the series prediction wrong. Now moving over to the Western Conference. So Colorado, Seattle, another one. Again, I didn't technically call it because I predicted that the Avalanche would win. So if you go over to the document here, so the data indicated Avalanche and I chose Avalanche. But like I was saying, I forget exactly what it was in the regular season that made them closer than everybody was predicting. But yeah, I thought of all the series, this one was one of the least surprising if the underdog would win, and they did. In the end, I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought Colorado's experience was enough of a gap, and I just don't like Seattle as a team. I don't think they're good, but they won, and so that surprised me. So it went basically back and forth the whole series. 2-goal game, 1-goal game, 2-goal game, 1-goal game in overtime, 1 goal, 3 goals for Colorado, and then 1 goal. So really it was a dead even series. Moving over to goaltending stats. Georgiev was 914, so basically league average kind of goaltending. So you can't really blame him. He gave good enough goaltending to potentially win the series. And then Grubauer for Seattle, 926. So he was better in net in terms of from what he faced. So there's a bit of a gap in goaltending, but it's not crazy. Moving over to team stats, the goal differential. 1 goal in Colorado's favor. So this is the same as, what was it? Was it the Tampa series? I forget. Anyways, one of the other previous series. No, it was Boston. Yeah, it was Boston. I'm pretty sure. And so, I mean, from goals, it should have been Colorado. So probably shot differential. Actually, no, it's not even the case. So Colorado has a positive 3.3 shot differential. So really, Colorado should have won. And then the difference is that gap in goaltending, I guess. Now, of course, like I said, not necessarily goaltending, maybe team defense, maybe both. But, I mean, again, it's like a dead even series. Colorado, both team stats were better. So, should Seattle have won? Probably not, but they did. So there you go. Dallas, Minnesota. So this one, maybe slightly closer than I expected, but I definitely thought Dallas was going to win, and I thought it was going to be by enough of a margin. We'll see with the stats. But it goes Minnesota 1, then tied series, Minnesota up 2-1, 2-2, 3-2 for Dallas, 4-2 for Dallas. So end result was what I expected, but still pretty close at the start of the series. You can already kind of, actually, no, maybe not goal differential, but we'll see. But anyways, so sorry, just before I go to the stats, yeah, like I said, kind of enough of a gap where it was as I expected. I thought Dallas would win, and by a relatively clear margin early in the series. It didn't look that way, but later on it definitely did. So Dallas, Ottinger, 929 save percentage. That was quite good. And then Minnesota, we know that Fleury didn't play that great. So 8-1-1 for Fleury. Yikes. But historically, I think his playoff stats are really good. So, and then Gustafsson, 921. So I think what I said before the series is that I think I said start with Gustafsson. I can't recall for sure. Because Gustafsson had better stats during the season, and maybe if they went with him, it could have been enough to win the series or at least make it closer. So Gustafsson played well, but Fleury not in the games that he played. So in that, there was enough of a gap in goaltending where Ottinger was better. Team stats, goal differential it was actually quite big. So 7 goals in Dallas's favor, which is kind of what I expected. And so of all series, this one probably went most like I expected, not in terms of how the games kind of flipped and flopped at the beginning. I didn't think the Wild would do so well, but I did say that goaltending could have won them the series. But anyways, so in terms of the actual end result in stats and outcome, this one's probably closest to what I expected. And then shot differential was +1 for Dallas. So Dallas did win by a decent enough margin. Good goaltending, good goal differential, good shot differential. So a clear win from Dallas, and that's what I was thinking would happen. Oh, sorry, actually, there is one series that is even more accurate. So I should say the Dallas series is probably my second most accurate prediction. The Vegas series where they beat the Jets, that one for sure was closest to what I expected. I think we'll see with the stats in the end, but so Winnipeg wins game 1 and then Vegas goes 4 straight, so pretty clear win in the end, but we'll see with team stats and other stats. Oh, sorry, yeah, actually I did say that, but there was a two period overtime in the middle there. Winnipeg, Hellebuck, 886 save percentage, not good enough. And not good for him because he's one of the better goalies. Brossoit, 915, a former Jets player. So there's a pretty big gap in at least stats for goaltending, but Um, yeah, let's have a look at the team stats. So, goal differential, 5 goals. So maybe the Dallas one was more accurate, but um, no, probably not. Just because of the number of games it took. So this one took the exact number of games that I predicted. I know that for sure. I didn't say this in this stream, but in my predictions I did elsewhere. Um, so gap of 5 goals in 5 games is not a lot, but I mean it's enough. And shot differential was 1 shot in Vegas's favor. So um, goaltending, goal differential, shot differential, all in favor of Vegas. So they were kind of the clear winner there. And basically exactly as I expected for that outcome. Next up, Edmonton. Actually, this is the last one, isn't it? It is. So Edmonton, LA. And I should have shown. I don't think I actually showed my prediction. So the data indicated Vegas, and I predicted Vegas. And I forget it. I don't think I showed Dallas, and the data predicted Dallas as well. So the LA Edmonton. I predicted Edmonton. Data indicated Edmonton. Edmonton was the winner. Now this was way closer than I expected. Way closer. Was it way closer? Yeah, by enough of a margin that this was closer than I expected. We'll see in the team stats again, but so LA wins game 1 in overtime, 3 overtime games. So LA's really got. It's a tough matchup for Edmonton because I think the same kind of thing happened last season. So it goes LA, Edmonton, LA, Edmonton, Edmonton, Edmonton. But all really, really close games for the most part. So I thought there was going to be a couple or multiple 2-goal games. In the end, there was, 2? Yeah. So I thought Edmonton was going to do way better. But anyways, we'll see the stats here. So goaltending wasn't that great in Edmonton. I don't know about LA. So Campbell, he only came in for a portion of the game. I think it was most of the game in the end, but .964 save percentage. I don't know why they're not playing Campbell more. I think they should. I hope they do next series if they run into any trouble. I would go to him quicker than they did previously in the first round. I think that could have hurt them really bad in the end. Because I think they gave Skinner too much of a leash, and young, inexperienced, whereas he's kind of seen the worst of it playing in Toronto and how tough that market is. So I just would have given Campbell starts way earlier, kind of an even mix of the two. But anyways, and then Skinner was 890 save percentage, not very good. And they went with him even for the game 6, and man, I didn't like that idea, but it worked, so good for them. And then LA, Corpusalo 892, not good enough. And then Copley in not too much time, 750, so just really bad goaltending. So really in the end, both teams had bad goaltending, so pretty rough for both of them. So goaltending didn't win the series, and the stats are very similar too. So Edmonton, goal differential was 5. So really in the end, the actual team production is kind of along what I expected, but still not quite there. Not enough of a gap, I would say. And then shot differential, 1.8 shots, I think is the math. Am I getting that math right? Yeah. In Edmonton's favor. So goaltending didn't win it. In the end, it's just outscoring the team by just enough, and that's kind of what you saw in the results, really. So, yeah, so this one I guess I would say is probably third closest to what I expected, and got that prediction right. So in the West, I didn't do too bad. I was 3 for 4, and then the Colorado upset, I kind of called it. Didn't predict it, but said that it was a definite possibility, and it happened. I think not having Landeskog was probably a difference maker. Just his production alone probably would have changed the series, but and then yeah, like I said, in the East, I got 0. So in the end, 3 for 8, which is bad. But again, like I said, really, I kind of predicted all the series. So the only one that was far off from what I predicted, like I said, was the Rangers. I thought they would win, and I thought there was enough of a gap that it would be a pretty clear win. The rest were essentially exactly as I kind of called. Just the actual result was not quite the same. So anyway, so that kind of is the recap of everything. So again, altogether, my predictions were wrong, but not by that crazy of a margin, really. Just the actual, because you have to choose a team. You can't choose it to be close. So yeah. So didn't do well, but I mean, really not all that far off in terms of my predictions. So we'll see what happens in the next round. I can tell you now that I have no idea what's going to happen in the next round. I'm going to do the first half of the predictions later today in a couple hours, and then I'm going to do tomorrow's games tomorrow. Let's just hope that my predictions are better. I mean, really, in the end, it doesn't matter. What matters to me is if the Stanley Cup winner is one of the teams I put money on, which at this point, it's not looking very good. I've had this happen to me in previous seasons where I get down to not too many teams that move on past the first round or even make the playoffs sometimes. But all that you need is a team to get to the finals and then win the finals. So you only need one right, technically. But it's not looking very good right now for me, but we'll see. I've got, well, you already know about Florida. I won't really say about the rest, but you kind of already know that too, because I predicted Edmonton to win the Stanley Cup. So at the very least, you know that I have money on both those teams in all probability. Well, I told you already about Florida, and I must have already told you about Edmonton. So you know that I have money on both those teams to win the Cup. So for me, let's hope that they do well this round, because both teams are in tough series. But we'll talk about those in the predictions and previews for the next round. But anyway, so that covers the first round. Really strange outcomes, I would say. Like I said, kind of as I expected in terms of how close they were. But just the outcomes are way different than what I was expecting. But anyways, so that's it. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in a couple hours with the previews for round 2 for the games starting on the first day of round 2. So until then, see you guys.